first Halloween haunt was in 1973. We had a meeting regarding the Fright Night, and out of that meeting came a lot of ideas. It was expanded upon tremendously.
They just said, well, we have this farm-wide event that we want to do called Halloween Haunt.
Our haunt was rather small the first year.
It was very simple. In fact, Gary Salisbury and the others who organized it really pulled it together very quickly. In the first haunt, they did a great job of decorating it, and all of the employees all over the farm were encouraged to decorate their own areas with cobwebs and spiders and anything spooky.
They would take the daytime entertainers and utilize us as helping decorate, and it was really fun. Exhausting, but fun.
We used to hang erosion control netting over the streets, jute it's called in the industry, to give it a kind of a cobweb effect. We made our own skulls using styrofoam heads. This is how archaic it used to be. Styrofoam heads with acetone. We'd paint eyes and mouths into it. Now you could never get away with that using acetone. No way. But then it was like, let's just, what do we do here? We have a Halloween event to put on.
Well, the first year we had either 7 to 9 monsters on the street. They were all employees of Knott's. We learned that you should go in 2s or 3s because of the abuse that the guests would attack us. And we just learned a lot of things that, you know, how to scare people, where to stand, where to be, and, you know, rules were made up, what we could and could not do due to the first Halloween hunt.
There was no background on any of the characters, except some of the characters were based on existing monsters. So most of us, we would just hang around Ghost Town in dark corners and jump out and go boo at the guests. So my look in the first haunt was I was not green. I was flesh tones, and I had a face piece that was also flesh tones that looks like this. I saved it. Can you believe this? This is from 1973. Nice, huh?
Ghost Town particularly brings out the spooks and the ghosts and the goblins, and they were good, you know. I would go through the park in the evening time and watch them scare people.
3 hours into the haunt that night, Bud Hurlbut called a meeting of all the OMs, the operational managers. Everybody was there that first night. We've definitely got to have more people, more live people. That's what's really doing it. The mine ride for the entire time we did it was the Haunted Mine. I hired 6 people, I believe, for that first one. Large talking skull, and it was threatening the people in the train and all of this kind of thing. Really, when I think about it now, we're really pretty bad. The log ride was very, very difficult. It was good in the fact that you were dealing with a small group of people to try to scare or do something to. The bad part was that they were moving at 5 feet a second, and it's very hard to do that. And we were running top speed every 11 seconds. The talent had to do whatever they were going to do.
We started putting in mazes, and mazes started really gobbling up the people. Nothing like the mazes of today. First show I wrote was the Main Street Market Massacre.
I was up on the roof, and one of the guys aimed his shotgun at me and was ready to shoot me with the rifle, and I said, "Everybody knows monsters never die!" So I did that once an hour for the whole weekend, and I didn't have much voice left after that.
And in 1974, I actually auditioned as a can-can dancer. So I think Gary Salisbury, who was the entertainment manager at the time, came up with this idea of having 2 gruesome can-can dancers. We were called the Gruesome Twosome. And we danced on the bar. We had our hats and our canes, and we did little kicks and all of that. And then in the middle of our dance routine, the mummy and King Kong, the gorilla, came in and whipped us off of the bar, and we're screaming, let me down, we gotta finish our show. And we just disappeared into the streets of Ghost Town. And that was the last you saw of us. Following year, because I had really, really long hair, really long, they asked me to be Spider-Woman. And that was on Market Street with my scientific professor guy who created me.
The monsters roaming the street were a real highlight of the haunt because that's what people came back for. And then they would go in and see the Seymour show, which changed the Wolfman Jack show.
Ain't gonna send no chills up and down your spine. I guarantee you.
And then we thought, well, who are we going to replace Wolfman Jack? And I said, well, how about Elvira?
Ladies with no attitude, fellas who aren't in the mood. Don't just lay there, let's get to it. When you're dead, there's nothing to it. More. No, you're dead. You're not ready for cremation, so get your corpse on the floor.
All of a sudden, the theater was just packed.
Why? If you're a guy or a fool.
Well, the hanging started out in the 70s as a real live witch hanging. They had a little tiny stage, they had a gallows. There wasn't even a stage, it was just a gallows. And they brought the witch in and they did some fanfare and they strung her up, and then at the moment of the pulling the cord to drop her, she disappeared as a puff of smoke and doves flew. It was actually a pretty tame show as far as those goes. The local witches complained. The people who really practice witchcraft, they complained. And rightfully so, it was a little disrespectful. So then the show morphed into a gypsy hanging, and we hung a gypsy. And then the gypsies complained. So what happened is that the show, by its nature, had to change. The show turned into just a celebration of what happened during the year, all the pop culture events, and they would lampoon them and then find somebody to hang.
I'm here to give you what you want. Are you ready? Well, here we go! Yeah! I'm hanging!
I don't think any of the family had any idea that it would take off and be as successful as it was. We were pleasantly surprised, and people had fun.
None of the other amusement parks or theme parks had been doing anything like this. The crowd reaction was they were having fun and they enjoyed being scared, but it wasn't nearly as elaborate of a setup as it is today.
It was an immediate success. I mean, they really, really had they sold out.
Every year we try to make things fresher. We watch our competition, and they've been copying us for a very long time. So we need to make sure that we're always one step ahead of them.
Today we push the envelope because that's what our audience is looking for, and we push the envelope in kind of a, diplomatic way. And I don't know if what we're doing today is any different than what we did years ago, because it's all relative.
They're well rehearsed and well tuned in the scare. And in the old days, it was like, here's your costume, be out on the street okay, go. And that's what we did. We never had any training, we just went. So we just went with our instinct.
People, 40 years ago don't scare as easily as people do now. So it's like, what can we do? And we've got things like this year with Trap, finally getting to cross those boundaries that we've always wanted to do, those things that we've always wanted to do that we've never been able to do before. It's having that experience and that memory that we create here that is, really specific to what we do at Halloween Haunt.
It's like any good Halloween night where you don't remember all the houses you went to. You just know that at home, you're metaphorically dumping out this bag of candy, and the candy being all these little scares and events that you went through during the night, and you're trading them with your friend and talking, and you don't want the night to end ever.